guys, it's Abby. I was gone from YouTube, from Booktube, from the bookish internet for quite some time, and I thought I would explain why. So, as some of you might know, I have been in higher education at universities for the past 4 years now, and I started my channel when I was finishing up my last year of my undergraduate degree. This video is not going to be for everyone. I'm making it for myself, really, because I want to, but this is going to be a bit more of like an explanation of why I've been gone and what I've been doing. And I've been gone because I've not been reading books and I've not had time to film anything, so if you're only here purely for bookish stuff, then watch the next video, or the last one. But yes, so I started this channel, as I said, when I was finishing my 3rd year of my undergraduate degree in Geography BSc at the University of Central Lancashire, and at the end of that I got this little guy. It's not very big, which was my undergraduate dissertation, titled A Comparative Study of Onshore Wind Farm Use in the UK and Germany. Riveting. No one here would want to read that. I've never reread it myself. But then I went on to do a master's, an MSc in Geological and Environmental Hazards, so things like earthquakes, volcanoes, which was my thing, tsunamis, hurricanes, landslides, floods, that sort of thing is what we were studying. It was a lot harder than my undergraduate. It had a lot more of a geological focus, things were a lot more technical. My undergrad essentially played a lot more heavily off of my previous education, sixth form for other British people. For non-Brits, 16 to 18, non-compulsory education. I did geography for those 2 years. Yeah. It's weird explaining the education system to make sure that everyone knows where I am. But yes, so 16 to 18 I studied geography amongst other things, and my degree kind of played off of that, whereas this master's was completely new. It was a lot of stuff that I had never studied before. I had never studied geology at all. There was a lot more maths, a lot more technical stuff, which at the time really kind of freaked me out because it wasn't my forte. I've always struggled with maths. I'm fine with it, but the second I stop doing it, I'll forget every single process. So it was kind of like a shock to the system to be actually learning things again rather than reapplying stuff I'd already previously learnt. So either my undergrad course wasn't great, or my A-levels, the stuff before it, were too good. One of the two. But yes, so then when it got to around June, July, things started to really ramp up. Well, May, June, July. For a week I was on a field trip in Sicily, the island off the coast of mainland Italy in Europe. And so that was mandatory fieldwork for one of my modules. And then a couple weeks later I went on a field trip to Mount Vesuvius, also in Italy, still in the south but much further north than Sicily, as that's what I did my thesis on, so my big end of year, end of course paper. And it was stressful as all hell. Even though I actually ended up writing less words in this final paper than I did for my final paper for my undergraduate, this one was for me a lot harder. I had to do a lot more physical work, I had to do a lot more creating diagrams and analysing text, so I went a lot more in depth for this one. As you would expect, it is a harder course. That's why you get the MSc, which I don't know if I've gotten yet. We've not gotten our marks back and we won't for quite some time. But yes, so then I ended up writing this guy, which my mum, she works at a primary school, my old primary school, and they said that she can bind it. So yeah, it's Mapping Spatter Ramparts from the 1944 eruption of Mount Vesuvius. Again, I'm sure none of you are that interested, but basically last time Vesuvius erupted was in 1944. Spatter ramparts are bits of lava being spat out, and they landed on the rim around the crater and formed a rampart, which is just like a big ramp of spatter, the lava bits. And they hadn't actually been just mapped. Like, they've obviously been studied, everyone knew they were there, but there was no map of them. So I went and I mapped them. Okay, so there's a few different sites. You can only go around certain sections of the crater, so some of the bits around sections I wasn't able to get to. So let's come around here. Okay, so this is the accessible areas, so you can walk around from here all the way around to there, and then you're not allowed past that point unless you are a volcanologist, and although I kind of am, I'm not a registered volcanologist at this area, and the one who was unable to change her schedule to help me out. So that's the accessible areas, and then we have the non-accessible areas here in the green colours around the top. And so that's what I did for that, and then before I changed the camera angle, I also created, this is very hard to see, but diagrams of each individual spatterram part. And this is the key down here telling you the different sections that I was looking at for each of the sites. So yes, that is essentially what I went to do. Nothing, I mean honestly nothing amazingly complex, if I'm being completely blunt about my own work. It couldn't be really. This is a 1-year master's program, which means that we don't have too much time to spend on an entire project. We do have a year's worth of learning to squeeze in, and the full module credits alongside writing up this bad boy. But I did get to, as I said, go to Vesuvius. I was communicating with a scientist who works at the National Institute for Volcanology and Geophysics in Italy. And that was amazing. Being able to speak to Dr. Piacci and actually go and meet her in person was such a great experience. They have offices, one in Rome, one in Sicily, and one in Naples. So the one in Rome covers all of the earthquakes and just activity around the entirety of Italy, other than on Sicily, which is monitored by that one because they have all the volcanoes in that area, and then in Naples because they've got Vesuvius and all the other volcanic suchlies in that area. Etna's the main volcano at Sicily. And so I've now been in 2 of the different offices. I have various different contacts throughout the INGV, which is insane still to me. I'm still trying to find a job in my area, and I'm not going to up here. I'm not going to find one in the northeast, so that's been really tough. I'm still applying. It takes a while to apply to proper jobs in this area of study. So I've got a Christmas job, and that will hopefully last me through. I'm living at my parents' place as well. They very gracefully are letting me move back in. I know that they wouldn't not, but they also could. So they're very gracefully, whatever. Either one, I'm really glad that they're letting me live back here again. And so I'm going to stay here while I'm working the Christmas job and while I'm hunting for new jobs. But if I don't have anything in the northeast of England by February, I'm going to have to look at moving down south, which is not something I want to do, because I love living up in the northeast. It's my home, but I need a job. I've also looked at doing PhDs. I can't really afford to do one unfunded, but I've looked at ones in Sweden because one of my course mates and one of my best friends off my course is Swedish. And so she was showing me different ones at Stockholm University that would be really good for me, and then I'm also looking at ones just around the UK. So there's a lot to do, a lot to check on, but yes, essentially I did a year of volcanoes, earthquakes, not a lot of earthquakes, which was kind of sad, hurricanes, ash clouds, which is volcanoes, but we monitored a lot of ash clouds, and then I did my end thesis, which has been very badly printed by my dad's printer. It's got lines and everything down it, and this one's so fancy and professional. But we only had an online hand-in for this thesis, whereas this one we had to hand in physically. So for my undergrad you had to hand in 2 copies and then you got one back, and they printed them for free because they made you hand them in. Whereas these guys don't print for free because you don't have to print one at all. Makes sense, but I want a copy. So we printed one, and then my mother is going to bind it for me, and I will have both of my dissertations, theses, whichever. All beautiful. So yes, I've got no idea what my mark is, but I was incredibly proud of it, and I still am incredibly proud of it, even if I'm far too scared to actually go through it again. I now feel a lot more confident using different softwares that I use for this, like ArcGIS and CorelDRAW, and it was just really, really great. So yes, this was the probably least interesting video for the majority of you who subscribe to my channel, because none of you guys care about this sort of stuff. Most people on Booktube will, if they go into higher education, do some sort of literature, book related, writing related at least, sort of degree or higher education thing. So a lot of the videos that are like this tend to be a lot more relevant. So if you have got to this point, thank you very much for listening and watching this far and caring this much. Yeah, I am going to link the thesis down below, just if I can figure out how to, which shouldn't be too hard, but like, I'm lazy. Just in case anyone does want to look at it, or if anyone wants to look at the graphs and the pictures and the things that I made, because they're pretty. I mean, I think they're pretty. I am massively biased. But yeah, just in case anyone does want to look, I highly doubt anyone's going to look, so don't feel like you have to, but it's there just in case. As well as all my normal bookish links to varieties of things. And yeah, thank you so much for listening to me ramble on about something that you probably don't care about. I'm very grateful, and this was quite enjoyable for me to make, and I will at some point update, probably on Twitter, as to whether or not I've passed my thesis, because we don't find out for months and months and months. I just want my MSc. I've got letters after my name and I want to be able to put them there. So yes, thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next bookish video. Bye guys!